Good morning. Welcome to the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners Appointed Directors Meeting. It's Tuesday, February 13th, 2024, 11:09 a.m. My name is Ty Mentor, Chair of the Board. We have Vice Chair Commissioner Wayne Fournier, Commissioner Emily Klaus, Commissioner Gary Edwards, Interim County Manager Robin Campbell, Assistant County Manager Rob Gelder, and a whole slate of our appointed directors, which will kind of go around and it's been a while since we've had one of these, but hopefully with the new board schedule, we'll be able to have them more regularly and not have them bumped for other conflicts. So excited about that. Typically, we just kind of go, sometimes there's an issue to be dealt with, but today it's just an open forum. So we usually just go department by department and get kind of a brief update. Commissioners ask questions. Other directors can ask questions of other directors. So we'll just start to my right, Ben Miller-Todd, Emergency Management, and I'm going to run upstairs, but Vice Chair will be in charge.
Okay, sounds perfect.
Yep.
Good afternoon, good morning, morning. Just getting over the tail end of a cold, so that's the only reason I'm in this today. I'm going to run through a couple things for emergency services. It has been a little bit since we've done an update. So just a reminder that this is the 50th anniversary for Medic One. We're excited to do some of the festivities as we go through the year, and we're planning on working with our partners in the surrounding 14 agencies, 12 public, 2 private agencies, as well as our hospitals to help celebrate that. Gala preparations are underway for September 28th gala, and we've been working with our partners on that as well. We are going through a little bit of a reshuffle with committee structure, and so moving forward, EMS Council will fall. We're anticipating it falling on the fourth Thursday of the month as we move forward, for those of you that are involved with that. And we believe it should fit within calendars as we move forward. Additionally, we're working on the data for the placement of the 8th Medic Unit. As we close out 2023 data, we wanted to use the most current data for that analysis.
Can you hold 1 second? It's not on. Mike isn't picking anything up. Sorry.
My first take was the best.
It is on, yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll keep moving forward. We wanted to use 2023 data for the placement of the 8th Medic Unit as TCOM closed out their data for 2023. We're in the process of using that data for an analysis. Lastly, it's been a long time since we met, but just as a reminder, the ALS Program Manager did start January 2nd. So we have a long-standing open, significant management position at Medic One that is currently filled. And they are currently working through the process of getting up to speed, making sure they're meeting everybody. You know, for lack of a better term, they're drinking through a fire hose. So we're working them through the process as we go through it and making sure they're well integrated. On the emergency management side, I did want to call out, while it was a quick conversation this morning about the hazard mitigation plan, I did want to call out my team and the community stakeholders. This is a multi-jurisdictional regional plan that was well articulated and done in a community fashion across the last 3 years of development. That's a monumental achievement to get through that process and to do it with one single minor revision suggested by FEMA. The entire plan was approved by EMD, the entire plan was approved by FEMA, and they asked for one clarification. The entire plan for many jurisdictions is sent back with multiple revisions to go back out to the community. And it was done so well during the submission that it was approved in the first take. And so that's a huge achievement for emergency management. And the new team, keep in mind, there's been significant turnover in emergency management over the course of that 3-year period, and they were able to get it to the finish line. The other part of this is that all of our jurisdictions are watching this process because it affects our BRIC grants. So the federal funding associated with BRIC grants, as soon as this is approved on the 20th, will now be fully approved with FEMA, and there won't be any questions about what BRIC grant funding we can achieve. So I really wanted to call out the team at emergency management that this is a big deal. So with that, I'll pass it on.
Patrick? Okay, well, good morning, commissioners.
Anybody have any questions for Ben? Okay.
Sorry. A couple things to highlight over public defense. We completed our strategic planning for this year, got delayed a little bit until we figured out how the budget shook out. So our team put that together. It's a good plan. I'll share that with the board in my monthly report, which is late, by the way, but I'll get that to the board. Planning for our annual public defense conference up in Winthrop in April. It's a great agenda. A lot of big topics to be discussed statewide. Probably the most important one deals with standards of public defense. And I'm back, I think, before the board in a couple weeks at a work session to have that conversation. I've been attending a lot of statewide meetings regarding the issue, and sort of big picture here to share with my colleagues and the public is we're going to see significant changes in the standards of public defense starting this year in a phased approach over the next 3 years. The bottom line, what we're looking at is caseload standards for public defenders have been enacted and adopted since 2010. They were based on 1973 numbers, and the RAND Corporation, the American Bar Association, recently completed new recommendations based on workloads. So what that will look like is compliance with the new standards of about half the cases that are currently in place. So more to come on that. It's a huge topic with a lot of implications. A couple other small things, but big things for us is we're hosting a Black History Month event at the end of the month in our office, and we've invited a couple special guests, one including the Chief of Corrections, Chief Davis, is going to come say a few words about his lived experience. So I really appreciate Chief Davis's involvement. Again, we love to work with our justice partners, invite them to events that we're hosting, and so I'm excited about that. And then hiring, recruiting. So I'll just say from my perspective, we've had a couple open recruitments. I know there was an item before the board this morning for us. We're seeing an uptick so far in the number of applications we're getting, so that's a positive, I think, sign that maybe the economy's picking back up or we're staying competitive. Pretty anecdotal, but our numbers are up and the quality of candidates we're seeing has seemed to be improvement this past 6 months. So hopefully hopefully we don't have to continue to see if that's the trend, that we don't have more vacancies, but the truth of the matter is we may have those this year, but it's pretty anecdotal, but I don't know what Maria's numbers might show, but so far so good. I think that's really all I have.
Any questions for Patrick? All right,
Public Works.
it's all you. I did my duties. Sir.
So Public Works, I'll start with staffing stats. We have 31 vacant positions. Some of those are a result of the board authorizing additional staffing during the budget process, so thank you for that. One of the areas that we've been focusing on is our road maintenance and operations group, because they weren't staffed appropriately, and that appropriate distribution and kind of allocation of work. So my understanding is that we have 2 supervisor positions that we are recruiting for, and I haven't seen the paperwork yet, but a very strong candidate, so we're excited about that. And then we'll continue on with the other vacant positions. We are still challenged with getting engineers, and specifically our senior civil engineer positions. That continues to be a struggle. We're working on year-end closeout efforts, and staff are spending quite a bit of time with TC Connect and bringing that online, and the new permitting software. There's just a lot of work that goes into trying to stand those up. So excited about when those finally go live, but it's a lot of work trying to get there. And next week we will be presenting to the board the state of the transportation system. Every year we do briefings on the state of the water and wastewater system, parks and trail system, transportation system, and so next week we will be doing the transportation system, which will not be a surprise in terms of the funding in the budget, and we're going to have to make some adjustments, and what are those going to look like. So.
Questions for Jennifer? Have you lost any engineers?
Yes. One to the city of Lacey, and while funding was or salary was certain a piece of it. They also wanted to, it was the type of engineering work, so they were in stormwater, they wanted to go back to water and wastewater, which they had done before, and on larger systems.
Is this someone that the board knows?
Nate Ensley.
Okay.
So we only have one senior civil engineer for stormwater, and that is a position that we are continuing to try to recruit for.
Have you, so county manager or assistant county manager might have already bugged you about this, but I got approached last weekend by someone from DNR who wanted to know about who to contact at the county related to, they expanded their conservation area at Woodard Bay, and apparently we wrote a letter of support for that way back then. And now they've got specific stuff they want to do within Woodard Bay Conservation Area, and I didn't, other than our parks, Ed, I didn't know who to direct them toward. Would that be somebody in your shop, or?
I would say start with me,
Okay,
and I can.
so you might
I
hear
can
from
go
somebody,
there.
Michelle, I want to say her name was, from DNR, and
Okay.
they want to talk to the county about their future plans for Woodard Bay Conservation Area and how county dollars, programs, whatever might factor into that. I don't know what they've got.
As in they want money from the county?
I don't really know. I mean,
I like to go the other
no.
way,
Yeah.
that's like,
I don't know,
I'd be happy to talk to
I've
him.
literally been to Woodard Bay once. I
Okay.
rode my bike up the Shales Western Trail and went there, but she was like, you don't know that, she was talking about all these different features, and I really need to go up there and check it out, because I
Okay.
did not know what she was talking about. And yeah, she was like, and they've got grand plans to do more there. So anyway, heads up on that. Excellent, pretrial services. Oh, sorry, HR. Rhea, I just think you're there like presiding, like, you're always there, like a legal counsel or something. I forgot, you're in a department.
That's great.
Okay, HR.
Good morning, everyone. I did pull 2023 hiring stats since we haven't previously met. So for recruitments, we did 418, and that was just slightly up. Some of these numbers are kind of flat. If they're up, they're just, 2 or 3. So 418 recruitments. We hired 217 employees. Of those, 25 were veterans. We hired 125 temps. We had 226 employees separate. Of those, 29 were retirements. We promoted 66 employees, which I think is fantastic. That number keeps increasing. So for HR, I have 4 vacancies. One of those is at the end of the month. Tammy announced her retirement. She's been our risk manager for 20 years, so there's some big shoes to fill there. And I'm hoping to fill a couple of the vacancies within the next couple of weeks. So here in the coming weeks, we'll start planning for employee recognition, which is the first week of May, and that's always a fun event to put together. With that, any questions?
Say again, which is the employee recognition?
The public
week in
service, and it's the first full week in May.
Okay.
So we'll have a proclamation ready for that event.
I think what everyone wants to know, Maria,
Yeah.
is there gonna be
Is
ice
there
cream?
ice
I hope there's always.
Explanation's not what I was asking about.
It makes everybody so happy.
Yeah, it's
So I just-
super popular.
I think it's the most fantastic thing that we can do. So as long as the board gives that a thumbs up. I'll scream for ice cream.
I think one of the things that I know is on HR's long work plan is some updates to our existing code and some tools that we can have in our toolbox for retention of our staff. I know that there were some changes made for recruitment, which is fantastic. But I know you and I have had conversations and that focus on how do we retain our current staff and changes to the definition of family and how can we open that up, and provided some draft language, and like I said, I know it's a long work plan, but that would be.
Yeah, so updating policy takes a while because there's so many, different areas we vet it through, but staff and I have worked on updating compensation so that there's more flexibility and it really reflects how we should be, placing new staff, current staff. We have updated, well, one of the issues we have with current language in, for family members is they can't work in the same department regardless of whether there's a supervisory relationship or not. So we're changing that. So some of this language is very antiquated, updating the recruitment policy. So we've actually done a lot of work there. The next step is legal, vetting it through the leadership. There's the policy committee that also reviews it. So, yeah, if I can get,
I know.
maybe clone myself.
It'll be legal if we change the policy.
Absolutely.
Hire your clone. It's,
I like things that are legal.
Did you have any role in the EEOP?
I did review what DV put together.
Do you have any thoughts about it, since the board's gonna have to take action next week?
No, I think it's a great first step to get us there. We do have a lot of work to do, but I think it starts to lay the foundation. I don't think that it's, part of the issue we're having is how we collect certain data, and because we're decentralized, some of it is collected at every office and department. So we need to figure out a way to pull that together. I don't know if with the TC Connect, which is going to be our new payroll, if that'll help or not. It would be wonderful if it did. But again, I think it's a first good step to move us towards that. Internally, I don't have expertise or staff that are experienced with EEOP, but I think with some training, I think we could get there.
I mean, because it sounded like when I asked Dee Dee this morning what was in there and substantively, and she was talking about, recruiting strategies and things like that. That sounds like it would need to
when
be
I spoke
vetted
to
by.
her, when I met with her yesterday and talked to her about like what her goals are, and most of it was really HR centered, and it was talking about recruitment. It was talking about how it seems like our hiring practices are siloed off, and she would be advocating for a more centralized, one-stop shop hiring practice.
I would be advocating against that,
And
just for the record.
and I'm sure that.
And that's part of that's part of county governance. Is a lot of things are at the discretion of the appointing authority. And I'll use recruitment. HR's role is in the requisition and posting of the job, but every office and department is responsible for the job announcement, who they consider for the job, and some of them utilize NeoGov, that's our recruitment application, to log that information. Others don't. Others are still filing things in different files, so we don't have a way to collect. So, for an office assistant, how many applicants they were, what protected categories there were, who got the interview and what protected categories they were, and who actually got the job. So that's a lot of data. And when you're looking at 418 recruitments, thousands of candidates, it's a huge lift. And so that really, from my perspective, is the biggest challenge and the biggest lift, is gathering that information.
Okay, yeah, I mean, just wanted to make sure that what was being proposed in there is something that is not inconsistent with, not that we shouldn't progress and advance and make changes, but making sure there are changes that you can handle or that are
With
things that can
support
be done.
and cooperation. Because at this point, everybody at this table is gonna have to go figure out, like, Public Works, how many jobs do you post a year?
Yeah, we had
200?
7. I think from my perspective, it can get automated. So just how you ask the questions, there should be a way to get that set up. We use NeoGov, standardizing those processes. It seems like there's a way to
And so
do
having
that.
some guidance around that, but that's part of it, is getting people to use the tools that we have And not everybody does.
All right.
The policy that you were talking about, were those a subset of the MTP? Because I know we've had conversations about that before. I wasn't sure if it was
So
separate.
it's for non-represented, and it includes class and pay and MTP. And so one of the policies that I think collectively we all agree needs to be changed is right now that there's a threshold. So if you're promoting an employee, there's a threshold at the max, and that may not reflect their experience and abilities. And so removing that, so the appointing authority can factor that in and say, okay, this person should be at a step 9, or this MTP should get X amount. So that's one of the ones that I'm the most excited about, because it gives the people doing the hiring more tools to make promotions, in particular promotions.
All right. So pretrial services.
Now it's my turn.
Yep.
All right, good morning, everybody. I will start on the hub, kind of finalizing our reports and data for 2023. We had 1,219 visitors, which is exciting, so about 100 a month. The hub also just wrapped up a donation drive with Public Defense and the Prosecuting Attorney's Office, sort of a friendly competition between those two offices, and received tons of sort of basic needs, hygiene items, granola bars, etc. So that was a fun event to work with our partners on. The hub is currently hosting 2 interns, a St. Martin's student as well as a individual we were connected with through a peer navigator cohort. And then trying to partner with, do kind of more special events in the community. So for example, tomorrow the hub is closed, and we're trying to direct all traffic and partners to an event we're working on with WorkSource, a job fair. So that's exciting. Moving on to diversion, we served 179 people through our pretrial services diversion program in 2023. About 70% of those are felony cases, so a really great opportunity for people with behavioral health needs to avoid that felony conviction if they can kind of successfully navigate through diversion, work on treatment, and continuing to work again with our partners in public defense and the prosecuting attorney's office on refining and improving that program and meeting the needs of the people we serve. Moving on to, pretrial screening supervision, we continue with our public safety assessment implementation, and we are starting to be able to pull some data on release decisions. What did release decisions at the preliminary appearance look like before the implementation of the PSA? What does it look like since then? Getting a little bit of help, I hope, through APPR on improving that data, but starting those conversations with the bench and our partners about did we see a change? Did we not see a change? Did we expect to see a change, et cetera? Everybody has some different opinions on that, so but having more data will really inform those discussions. And then kind of overall recruitment. So we are currently recruiting for our new program manager position. Excited about that. Also recruiting for a second person to work in the hub, which is gonna allow us to expand hours, expand partnerships, et cetera. And then we did hire a new administrative assistant too. She started a couple weeks ago. Super excited about that, and have hundreds of great projects for her to work on in her 40-hour work week, but that's been going well. And then also really appreciate working with the courthouse remodel team, and have seen many different drawings back and forth, and really looking forward to improved space and more space to, we currently don't have space for our entire team, which we manage through telework, but excited to be able to bring everyone together and then have hopefully some additional space for the hub eventually, so to accommodate all those partnerships and visits. I think that's all I have. Thank you. Questions for me?
APPR implementation, I haven't heard much about it, which is usually, no news is good news sometimes, so the fact that, I mean, I'm guessing things are going sort of smoothly, because I meet regularly with Pat, with John, with Judge Skinder, and no one's brought this up, so it must be going okay.
That's probably good, I guess. We rolled out the public safety assessment in October. I think there was lots of, at the time, what will this look like? Oh, this is a big change. It has quickly become, I think, a fairly routine part of work, especially in Superior Court. All the actors kind of reference I think have become pretty well versed in what do the different scores mean. They reference it all the time Pat knows because he's actually doing those appearances, I think, once a week. I think no news is good news, but sometimes it makes you worried. Are we just continuing business the way we always did after all of the kind of work and partnership to make this change? Which I think goes back to the data and having the data. I think I presented some data last week at the APPR Advisory Committee, and it started those discussions. I think, some of the reaction was, looks a lot like it did before, and I think some people really expected to see more change, others didn't, but having a little more data, I think, is going to advance those conversations. Pat, I don't know if you have any additional perspective from your seat.
No news is good news as far as I'm concerned, but one thing I think that's measurable is we have not seen any significant change one way or the other in our pretrial jail population, right? So we've been pretty static in pretrial jail population. So not to infer too much from that, but there hasn't been a big drastic since October to year-to-date change in pretrial jail population. More to come, but it's all the data, so we're gonna keep working through that.
All right, thank you. Central Services.
All right, so Central Services this week had its initial meeting to discuss rate generation with the rate brief coming up in mid-June. We're working closely with the budget office on developing those rates. And Central Services, capital projects, design build, at their briefing, capital projects brief the next phase of the design build to the board. Voter registration center work is in progress, expected completion August of this year in time for a move prior to the election. Facilities, move is in progress to the Mottman complex with the date out of the 2500 building of 3/31. And I know that our facilities has briefed you on some of the major projects going on for them. For fleet services, starting customer meetings to discuss replacement balances, rates, and different customer fleet needs. And, unless there are any, recruitments, 6 vacancies. Anecdotally, I would agree that we're seeing qualified candidates. That is good because some of those positions have been vacant for 5 months now within fleet services, and so it's good to see qualified candidates coming in.
What did you say was the, on facilities moving to Mottman, you said there was a target date for that?
So the lease ends at the 2500 building, 3/31. So first of all, moving out's been in progress, and the final piece of the move will be the week of March 18th.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question on that. So you fixed up the other building that you were at, you kind of remodeled when you were in there.
Yeah, the
You made
one
it
that we
nice.
leased.
Yeah, the one that you leased. Are you doing something similar to that?
Yeah,
in
the
new
guys
building?
are fixing it up as they have
As they
time.
go, or?
As they have
Okay.
time. We're not purchasing materials, or we're using what we've got.
Gonna make the creature comforts work until you can
Yep.
get it fixed up.
Yes, and we knew we didn't have any money for a project at Mottman for facilities or records management, so we're doing the work ourselves, and they're gonna make it what they need.
All right, any other questions? No? CPED.
All right. So I heard the great conversation this morning on the HCP. Thanks for that, putting all those dots together. So as you know, we've got the permits that we are now allowed to provide to the development that happens, and we've done over 150 of those. So individual developments as well as larger lot developments. And we collect those mitigation fees. Those mitigation fees then go into a pot of money that is part of what we use to purchase land for the HCP and then also do the maintenance and lift. That's the mowing and the seeding and all the different land that we acquire requires different types of lift. And so I think that the interim county manager did a nice job of describing that this morning. But the acquisition then comes on the other side with the conservation futures money as well as the mitigation funds. And so you've got this like three-part puzzle where we are letting out development permits, we're collecting those fees, we have the conservation futures fund as well, and we are acquiring the land that then we lift in different ways to make it get more functional credits out of every acre. So those three pieces are big. How are you gonna get more acres? Where do you get the acres? And how do you collect the fees? And so far it's working, and I'm really proud of the staff and community planning and economic development, putting those pieces together. One of the initial projects that we did was we held an easement, 2 easements for a citizen down in South County. His name is Jan Tibetan. He's been in the public, so it's okay to say his name. And he just went through the mitigation fee process with those 2 acres that he had to get a habitat conservation plan from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And he states that the time and money that he spent on getting his own HCP was around $100,000. And the mitigation fee that he's now paying to get out of that HCP and have a sunset the easement is around $2,000. And so that's kind of, I think, a really highlighted case of how well the Board of County Commissioners in investing in the Habitat Conservation Plan for our community is actually impacting in a positive way. So I'll go before U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in the next month or so to have a conversation about all of the permits that we let in 2023 to ensure that they align with the Habitat Conservation Plan, the incidental take permit, the ITP that the U.S. Fish allows the county to then allow for the permit developments. So I've got to make a case that we're meeting all the requirements of the HCP, and I'll go through every single one of those permits that we let out. And so that'll be they don't call it an audit, they call it a permit review, but I call it an audit.
Hey, before you go on, I just want to say how nice it was to see the letter from Mr. Tibetan. Yeah, so nice. After years of him showing up at the meetings and saying, get your act together, get an HCP, for him to take the time to write, that was lovely.
I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
good
Indeed, I
job.
completely agree. Thank you. And he was one of the linchpins. So 5.5 years ago, instead of us battling, the Board of County Commissioners said, go talk to Jan and see what he's doing to figure out how we can do that. So Mr. Tibetan has been a huge part of this process from the very beginning. Appreciate that. Kind of closing the loop. So now his son and daughter will have a mitigated property and can do what they want on their property within the mitigation fee area. I see a question.
There was another party that did their own HCP just south of Tumwater somewhere. Did they ever follow through with something similar to what the Tibetan family did?
I'll have to check. I know you're referring to, and I need to get more information. We have reached out to them early on in the process to see if they wanted to join in on the mitigation process as well, but I'm not sure.
I think they had the same option, if I remember right.
Correct. Yep. Let's see. Oh, and also in that, we have reached out on a number of occasions to the city of Tumwater and the port, so, you know, they're trying to work through their HCP process as well, and we're there for them whenever they're ready for us. Fair, you'll hear coming before the board probably February 23rd. In line with the 5-member commission, we're headed to reapportionment of the fair board. So all that, Jeremy Davis has been working on those policies coming to you to update the codes and ordinances. We found in the code and ordinances some like leftover discussion about the fees for the booths at the fair event being set, and it's a weird outlier. We're gonna remove that so that the eventual fair manager has more flexibility to set the fees of booth spaces at the fair. And then the fair manager. So the board approved hiring fair manager. We've been working through the HR process. That classification will likely come before the board as soon as HR is able to bring it before the board. But we're hoping to have that position posted at the earliest by March. But that's gonna be tight timeline for the fair event coming up pretty quick. So everybody's pushing forward. Did I say, uh-oh, Maria, am I okay?
No, you're good.
Okay.
No, we're there with that. It just needs to get.
Okay, great. Let's see, then
So
permits,
Josh-
oh, sorry.
Before you go there, is the fair manager different than the person that was gonna be like fundraising and like, that's the same position?
Expanding that.
So they're not just fundraising events, they're also managing the fair event?
Yeah. Yes, indeed. It's the whole thing.
But we tied, if I remember right, we tied the position to like an 18-month, they could manage the fair brilliantly, but they still have an obligation to bring in a number of sort of marketing
What I recall-
opportunities that would allow us to continue their funding.
What I recall is that the board decided to have it be an 18-month position. In that 18 months, they needed to make 75% of their salary back in revenue. And so that is what I believe that we're trying to let out. It'll be interesting to see if we can fill that position with those
Parameters.
parameters.
Hurdles.
Yeah.
Permit software, great work in partnership with IT. We are expecting hopefully a launch of mid-2024. And this is gonna take us, into the mid-2000s where people can submit things online. So that's super awesome. We will have a kiosk set up in the front here, the Building Development Center. So we've got submittal equity for folks that may not have a computer. We'll help them process their permits here on site. And just thank you for the work that's been done on that with IT. In terms of recruitments, we've actually seen really good numbers. Within CPED, our goal is to promote from within and then hire the frontline junior employees and bring them in and train them into the culture of customer service. And we've seen that those recruitments have been going very well. We also just filled our ag program manager position with a gentleman from South County who's well-known and comes with trust in the ag community, Kevin Jensen. So he's hit the ground running, filling in Ashley Arai's shoes as she was promoted to the community planning manager. So excited for great next steps.
Thank you for that hole in the agricultural advisory committee that we don't have to fill.
It's just a shifting of the talent.
I didn't catch the date on the permit software launch. Is that still?
IT.
I would say it's probably mid-2024. We're getting ready or they're in UAT right now, in their first round of UAT. So,
What's UAT?
user acceptance testing. And that's when the end users get an opportunity to get their hands on it and to start using it, and then they identify the bugs and the missing items. So they're different. Bugs have to be fixed before go live. Missing items, we have to figure out what is gonna happen with each one of those. If it wasn't in the original plan, we'll add it maybe for a first quarter update or something, so.
That's a good point. So we've got these two phases of testing that we're doing. Internal, so the permit software is not just what the customers are submitting, it's also all the background stuff that the planners are trying to work through. So we're doing testing internally. We've also engaged with the business advisory group and others in the community, folks that would be heavy users. So then they'll do the phase 2 of the testing, because we want to make sure that our partners who will be submitting applications have input into it. So again, appreciate the partnership with IT and trying to make sure that the community is involved.
Josh, can you share anything about sort of the community user testing piece of it? We were reaching out to community partners to potentially assist with some early kind of rummaging around in the
Right.
software.
So like I just said, that's the phase 2.
That's phase 2.
Yep,
Okay.
so we do the internal testing, make sure that what the planners have or need is there. And then we've engaged with the business advisory group and other community members as the folks that are heavy users of the software so they can get their hands on it. They think they call it drive over the shoulder test drive. I'm just learning a lot of IT jargon, so working through some of that. Oh, okay.
I can look at it.
MSU. So, yeah, we hope to do that in April.
There's not a lot of changes that can be made after it goes live, but wording changes or
Yeah.
putting things in there for consideration to be on a list of things to do after go live is possible too. But
So I'm gonna take back the time just a quick second. Thurston 2045. So the comp plan, the commissioners have asked about that on a couple of occasions. Want to make sure that you know it's happening right now. So if you're getting information about the way you think land use should be done in Thurston County, let us know, thurston2045.org. It's on comprehensive plan. Try not to use prepositions, apparently.
Sure, Edwards.
How we doing on tying in the e-inspection finalization problem?
I think great. I mean, it's heard, acknowledged. It's part of what we've been trying to do, clunking
Are we
around
up
with our.
100 Are we on
19,
100%
90.
now? Are we
No,
there?
good.
Not there yet?
are we using it 100%, he says?
We're using it 100% of the people that want to use it.
Are we advertising it?
Sure are. And I sent you and Robin all of those links to all the communication we've done over the past couple of years.
So we're up. I mean, the computer end of it was always the whole. Kind of.
Hold up for the past 3 years has been customers not using it.
So we're advertising to those that come in.
As far as I'm aware, the BDC says if you'd like to use our online, mostly what we do, because they're already in there. So you don't want to advertise something to a person that's standing in front of you to submit something online. But we say your next step is, if you'd like to do your building inspection, we can make that process quicker with the online submittal. So that is, we advertise that right off the bat.
Are they taking you up on that offer?
I can check. Some are, some aren't.
Trying to keep our folks from driving.
I hear you.
You know, they should be able to do most of it from their desk.
We have it. And it's advertised all over the website. It's video inspections, it's email inspections, it's, you know, all of it.
I think the new county manager has got a background in this.
Apparently they did that in the county he's from.
Should have some.
Yeah.
He may have ideas.
Hey, I'm open to all ideas. We have implemented tons of ideas. So bring more ideas, we'll implement them all. Let's go, let's do it. It's heard.
All right, IT.
Any good idea is a
I'm just
one that
thinking
we'll
you
try
should
and work on.
qualify, you'll implement
All
all
good
ideas.
ideas.
Good ideas.
And we've actually implemented some bad ideas and they haven't worked
To
out.
the extent you can afford to
I was
implement
gonna
the
say, right,
ideas.
I have to
He's
say,
gonna implement 0 dumb ideas.
Yeah. Like I
100%
say,
good.
we try everything and we have a culture of fail fast. And so if it doesn't work, we don't do it anymore. But I want to make sure that, you know, I know that we are in this time of transition, but it's not as if your staff hasn't been doing great things. And I want to make sure that it's clear that we are looking forward to excellent new leadership and new ideas, but that what has been done thus far is not just sitting on our hands. We've been doing a great job throughout the county, and I just want to make sure that that is clear and understood.
IT.
Okay, speaking of transition, the ERP, RUAT, user acceptance testing for ERP, the first round begins March 18th. So that's very exciting. We are hoping to reach out to offices and departments and have everyone identify 1 or 2 super users, power users that can help us when it comes time to train the not everyday user of the system. So if you have someone in your office that has participated in UAT and knows how to submit a timesheet or a time off request, then when we go live, then all the other people in the office will have someone that they can ask instead of everybody calling us. It's very selfish, but it's also very useful for you.
well, I think it's, important. I think it's also important just to recognize, I'm sure everyone does, like, that it's a significant effort that county staff are going through. And people are sitting in hours and hours of meetings spread out across. I just had a conversation with Nicole earlier. all-day meetings, two meetings at a time, trying to go through that. So it's a significant effort in addition to their current workloads, which are overprogrammed, so.
And we don't want to lose sight of those that aren't sitting in those meetings, so we have a whole user community that is not involved thus far, because they don't have to tell us how they're gonna submit their timesheets, I guess. Anyway, yes.
Maybe, I'm sure you probably already thought of this, but when it comes to sort of common functions like timesheets, which we all love, maybe it's something to help is just like an instructional video that we can make sure we send out to all the staff too, so they can bank it in Teams or wherever you keep your training videos.
Yeah, we got an awesome resource from HR named Amy, who's helping with those things. She's involved in our change management efforts, so it'll be great.
Just looking out for the super users who will get.
Also bombarded, possibly. I mean, it may be so user-friendly, everybody will figure it out the second they sit down. That's what we're shooting for, right? Anyway, it's getting exciting. All right, so 5 years ago, we participated in a state auditor cybersecurity performance audit engagement, and it's time for us to kick off our next one. So we learned a lot the last time about our environment, and things are changing, so it's a good idea to continue to do it again. And we get on a list, and then when our name comes up, it's time. So we're gonna kick that off at the end of this month, and that's pretty exciting.
Do we have capacity to kick that off, Sherry?
Do we have to what?
Capacity to kick that off?
Yeah, my security team. Most of the work is done by the auditors, and they provide us with the results, and then we prioritize their findings and work through them based on priority. So yeah, we do. We just rolled out, you probably saw the announcement, a mobile device management solution called Intune. This is also very exciting. A lot of times when people leave the county and they don't wipe their cell phone, then we can't get back into it ever, and it becomes a brick, a wasted piece of money right there. So the new mobile device management solution will allow us to manage the devices, keep track of them. If one gets lost, we can remotely wipe it. There's a lot of benefits to this. It's also very exciting. We're gonna start with new cell phones as they're brought on. Someday we'll go back and get the rest of them, but we're hoping to get most of them through like attrition. So it'll take a couple years to fully implement, but it's also good stuff. Okay. And then we have a lot of attention right now on what's called deep fakes, and I just want to remind everyone to make sure your staff aren't believing everything they get in the email. The 117 emails went out from David Bain to his staff asking them to contact him right away. He needed their help. David Bain, it wasn't really him, but it said, it was a deep fake is what it's called. And everybody that received it either reported it as phishing or they deleted it and didn't respond to it. So, I mean, we did a really good job of responding to that one as an organization, but they're getting very, very sophisticated. Just a couple months ago in Hong Kong, a commission online convinced somebody to send $25 million away to another organization, and he thought everybody in that meeting was real, and nobody in that meeting but him was real. I brought the article. It was the financial officer who actually in a video call was convinced to send $25 million to a fake. Just be cautious. I don't want to scare everyone, but we just really, it was through the use of AI, which is why you understand my panic over AI. It was the use of AI. They were able to create this video call where they convinced this finance officer to send $25 million somewhere else. And we just need to be really careful, and people just need to be on the lookout and double check. Don't sign the check until you check with someone, which we wouldn't here because we have a lot of checks and balances. But
This email that went out from David, what was it trying to get people to do? What was it trying to,
respond.
but what would have happened?
So in that particular case, they were just looking for someone to fall for it and to email back. It says, I need your help. I have a copy of it somewhere. Can you contact me as soon as possible? Respond to this email. typically, and this one actually has been around a while, typically when somebody responds, then they go, hey, I need you to do something, and that's when they've got them. 117 of them went out, nobody responded, so it was, I mean, yay.
But something small, like when they tell you to get an Amazon gift card or
That's it,
something.
Amazon gift card, or can you pay for this, or can you buy that, yeah.
EPS package.
So did everybody get an ice cream certificate or something?
No, not from us. You got that. They got a pat on the back,
Okay.
a good job, yeah. It was, they responded very well, and somebody notified us, so we were able to go in and block the email any further. But it said from David Bain, Director, and it wasn't very sophisticated, but they can get very sophisticated. So we have processes in place for a reason, and I just like to remind people that follow the process, and you probably won't get stung by this guy who lost his job.
Well, and the cybersecurity training that you guys have put together, or that you contract with, is really good about keeping that at the forefront.
If I lost $25 million, I think it's fair to lose my job.
We, at a conference that we went to, it was showing how AI is being used. They could take my voice from a video, put it on a phone call, and call someone in my office and ask them to pay something. I mean, it's getting very sophisticated. The bad actors are getting smarter, but we have processes in place to help protect us from things like that. So as long as people just remember that and don't fall for it.
All right, well, we're out of time. If
On that
commissioners
cheery
or
note.
county managers have anything they wanted to share, otherwise we can.
I was just wondering, Rob didn't get much time as far as, did you have anything new, update wise, like the Board of Health legislation or anything were you?
Yes, tomorrow morning, we have, so the House version for our flexibility bill for the Board of Health composition did not progress, but the Senate passed unanimously off the floor, so that's now, the Senate version is having a hearing tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. David will be providing testimony on our behalf, and if they pass it as is, then it'll go on its way to the governor.
Okay, very good. We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.